Very good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
Honorable Governor of Kerala, Sri Rajendra V. Arlekar, you had the occasion to listen to him. But to the students of law, let me stir your mind. President and the Governor are the only two constitutional offices who have oath different than the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, members of Parliament, members of Assembly, or other functionaries like judges. Because all of us, the Vice President, the Prime Minister and others, we take oath to abide by the Constitution. But the Honorable President and the Honorable Governor, they take oath to preserve, protect and defend the Constitution. Am I clear? So their oath is not only very distinct, their oath is obligating them with the onerous task of preserving, protecting and defending the Constitution. I hope there is realization all around about this constitutional ordainment for the post of the Governor. I have been privileged to have this post for 3 years alongside him in the state of West Bengal. Second, what stands out the President and the Governor, apart from the rest of us, like the Vice President, Prime Minister and Chief Ministers and Ministers, is only these two designations have immunity from prosecution. No one else has. While they hold office, they are immune to any prosecution, pending or contemplated. And I am so happy and delighted that Sri Rajendra V. Arlekar is setting very high standards as Governor. Because a Governor is easy punching bag. I am sure you as brilliant students of law will appreciate it. Dr. R. Bindu, Minister of Higher Education and Pro-Chancellor, NUALS, her address was permeating with erudition. She chose her words very carefully. It was feast to intellect. It was very refreshing to listen to a minister these days to talk what is of your interest. I am beholden to her presence and contribution. Remarkable, ma'am. Sri P. Rajiv, Minister of Law, Coal and Industries. I have two things in common with him. One, he has been a former member of Rajya Sabha, the House of Elders, the Upper House, the Council of States. And whatever discussion I have had with him, he is really part of education, apart from being that of law. His presence means a lot. But the second thing which I have in common is related to my wife, Dr. Sudesh Dhankhar. His wife, Dr. Vani, Dean of Faculty of Law, Cochin University of Sciences and Technology. The Honorable Minister has formidable challenge in the home as I have. So I am sure whenever he will be in Delhi next time, we will work in togetherness to deal with the common challenge. Professor Dr. G.B. Reddy, very thoughtful address. But I have love for him for a different reason. Like the Vice President, he also carries the tag Vice. Very distinguished members of the faculty. I must recognize presence also of Principal Secretary Higher Education because government is an important part of it. Dr. Sharmila Mary Joseph. Her husband is an IPS officer. Her brother is an IPS officer in Rajasthan. A brilliant man, a brilliant presently Commissioner, Jaipur. Well, Dr. R. Bindu, as also the Vice Chancellor said, it is a great occasion for students to listen to the Vice President. I have a small caveat. The honor and privilege is totally mine. I have had the great opportunity today to interact with brilliant young minds, the academic community of NUALS. I am engaging with whom? Who are future sentinels of justice, torchbearers of constitutional values, and architects of more equitable Bharat. You will be defining what Bharat will be when we celebrate centenary of our independence as a developed nation at 2047. But let me tell you, coming to Kerala is always a matter of pleasure to me. Very satisfaction. A land that has gifted India with many luminous minds and upright public servants. You have a very amiable Chief Minister. At the moment he is out of country. But every time I interact with him, I learn a lot. Another reason where I remember Kerala very frequently is that 9 members from Kerala to Rajya Sabha Council of States, each of them is taking the job very seriously and causing no disruption or disturbance. Let me remind you what we learned from our Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly crafted Constitution for us, and it was for little less than 3 years. They engaged in debate, dialogue, discussion, deliberation, but never in disturbance or disruption, something which you must learn. If I talk of Don Britaj, he is now heading, he is the floor leader of his party, along with V. Shivdasan and A. Rahim. Jose K. Mani, absolutely amazing person and a personality which I envy, has great contribution facility. Harish Biran, IUML, a lovable human being. He received me yesterday. A good friend of mine makes contributions very softly. His colleague Abdul Wahab, then CPI P. Santosh Kumar, along with PP Sunir, all of them are committed. J.B. Mathur, very brilliant, a member from the Congress party. And I gather husband is a cardiologist because I talked to the entire family. I have taken these names particularly because I'll be giving you some task and these people will be involved. Let me unravel the task before I come to other aspects. I will be calling upon you to engage into 2 activities. One, to write an essay on why we celebrate Constitution Day on 26th November. Why? When was it started? What does it connote for us? You write an essay. I'll share the email ID with the Vice Chancellor, where you will send it within the next 15 days. You will write another essay on Constitution Hatya Divas that reminds you of the draconian period of emergency proclamation on 25th June 1975. Now, these are fundamental because These are related to constitutionalism. You will have to think aloud what happened in 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. What happened in 44 and what was left over? Why lakhs were jailed without access to judiciary? How come 9 high courts decided in favor of the citizen, but the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, failed us? In ADM Jabalpur case, and reversed, indicating two things. One, it is absolute prerogative of the executive to impose emergency, and to impose emergency for as much time it takes. In 75, it was 20 plus months. And during the proclamation of emergency period, there will be no access to judiciary. So we forfeited at that point of time our total claim to be a democratic nation. That's where you stand. Are you ready for the essays? Low voice. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes. 5 each of those essays, the writers will be my guests at Indian Parliament. But let me tell you, I will not be selecting which essay is good, because all essays are bound to be good. I'll draw the lots. In the presence of 9 distinguished members of Rajya Sabha from your state. They will facilitate the visit also. Rest is my lookout. Second, why I named them and the Honorable Chief Minister. I'll be inviting you in batches of 15 to 25 to look at the new building of Indian Parliament. How during challenging times of COVID we transacted so much on the ground to reflect 5,000 years of our civilizational ethos, and attend this in less than 30 months. But you'll be my guests. I'll have lunch with you. Am I right? The Vice Chancellor will decide the constitution of the groups. But I'm sure he'll keep some boys also, because I see more girls here. This state has the distinction of giving to the country the first woman judge in the Supreme Court, Justice M. Fatima Bibi. But she has 2 distinctions. One, she was a High Court judge. She has retired. She was called to duty from retirement. And she became a judge of the Supreme Court for a very short period of 2.5 years. Another judge who becomes in the same category is Justice Bahrul Islam from Assam. From Kerala to Assam, he too was appointed a judge of the Supreme Court while having the tag of High Court judge, retired. So both of them had period less than 2.5 years or around that. You need to examine it. These are credentials that must steer your mind. Kerala has several other situations when we talk in historical perspective. When you talk of ancient trade, Romans, Arabs, Chinese, to the complex legal developments of Portuguese, Dutch, and British regimes, Kochi has witnessed evolution of law, which we can envy. But when we look at our ancient history, Dharma Shastra, Smriti, Dharma Sutra, they define our jurisprudence. Boys and girls, you always have to remember, Bharat was not born on 15th August 1947. We are a unique nation. 5,000 years of civilizational ethos, history, background, treasure of knowledge, Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, We had institutions like Nalanda, Takshila, and many more. And right now, I can tell you two things. Last few years have seen a development in this country at a scale which was not earlier there. And India today is the most aspirational nation in the world because of its youth. I am more enamored of you and interacting with you because our youth demographic dividend is envy of the world. We are 28 median age of our youth. China and the US, they are 10 years older to us. And therefore, you will control the destiny of this country. Our growth engine will fire on all cylinders only with your participation. But friends, my young friends, when we have a rise of this kind, like extraordinary economic upsurge, phenomenal infrastructure growth, deep digitization, a global recognition and accolades coming from all institutions, there are bound to be challenges. And the challenges are manifold. But one thing which I am very fundamental is that we must have courage to confront problems. We must not rationalize failures. We must always remember we belong to a nation that has to define global narrative. We have to be architects of a world that lives in peace and harmony. We must have first courage to confront uncomfortable truths within our own institutions. I take you as part of judiciary. Judiciary in our country commands immense trust, immense respect of the people. People believe in judiciary like no other institution. If their faith is eroded, shaken in the institution, we will be faced with a grim situation. A nation of 1.4 billion will suffer. Recent developments are troublesome. They are worrisome. I'll come to them a little later. But my fundamental principle always has been, as a law student, as a lawyer, as senior advocate, as parliamentarian, as a union minister, as governor of a state, as vice president of the country currently, that constitutional essence and spirit is optimally nurtured and sustained, and it blossoms with each of the pillars of constitutional working if they act in tandem, togetherness and in harmony. But if the legislature, the executive and judiciary are not on the same page, if they are not in sync with each other, if there is no harmony amongst them, then the situation gets a little worrisome. And that is why, as law students, you will be focusing on doctrine of separation of powers. The issue is not which is supreme. Each institution of the Constitution is supreme in its own area. Let us make no mistake about it. But if one institute, the judiciary, the executive, legislature, makes an incursion in the domain of the other, it has potential to upset the apple cart. It can create unmanageable problems that can be potentially very dangerous for our democracy. For example, let me give you in a layman's language. Adjudication has to take place with judiciary. Judgments are to be scripted by judiciary, not by legislature, not by executive. And similarly, executive function is performed by whom? By the executive. And why? Because you elect the executive, the political executive, through elections. They are accountable to you. They have to perform. They have to face elections. But if executive function is done by, let's say, legislature or judiciary, that will be antithetical to the essence and spirit of doctrine of separation of powers. I am aghast that a functionary of the executive like the CBI director is appointed with the participation of Chief Justice of India. Why? And just think and steer your minds. CBI director is not the senior most person in the hierarchy. He has above him several layers. CVC, cabinet secretary, all secretaries. After all, he is heading a department. You must use your pen. Is it happening elsewhere in the world? Can it happen under our constitutional scheme? Why should an appointment of the executive be made by anyone else other than the executive? I strongly say so. Another quite disturbing scenario is that we had turbulent times in judiciary recently. But good thing is, soothing, a big change has taken place. We are seeing good times now for judiciary. The present Chief Justice and his predecessor, immediate predecessor, gave us a new area of accountability, transparency. They are getting things back on the rails. But earlier 2 years were very disturbing, were very challenging. The normal system was not normal. Thoughtlessly, several steps were taken. It will take a while to undo them. Because it is very fundamental that institutions function with optimal performance. If Rajya Sabha engages in disruption and disturbance and does not function, well, that's a cause of worry. It will be alarmingly worrisome. But I am quite hopeful that things will look up. There has been a lot of issue about preamble to the Constitution. Well, first let me tell you, preamble of Indian Constitution is something like parenthood to children. Howsoever you may try, you can't change your parenthood. Am I right? That's not possible. That is preamble. Secondly, historically, no country's preamble has ever been changed. Thirdly, preamble of our Constitution was changed during a time when hundreds and thousands of people were behind the bars. The darkest period of our democracy, the emergency era. Then it was changed where the life of the Lok Sabha was also increased beyond 5 years. It was changed at a time when people had no access to the justice system. Fundamental rights were totally suspended. You need to examine it. We may do anything. We surely can't change our parents. And we have to ever respect them. My young friends, if you have heard of Ides of March, those of you who have read Julius Caesar, where the soothsayer cautions Caesar, beware of Ides of March. And when the Caesar was going from the palace to the courtroom, he spotted the soothsayer And he said, ideas of March has come. And Caesar said, and the soothsayer said, yes, but not go on. And before the day was over, Caesar was assassinated. Ideas of March is associated with misfortune and doom. Our judiciary had ideas of March on the night intervening 14th and 15th March. A terrible time. There was cash haul at the residence of a judge in large quantum. I say so because it is now in public domain, officially put up by the Supreme Court, that are the residence, official residence of a judge of the Supreme Court, so judge of the High Court. Cash in large amount was found. Now the point is, if that cash was found, system should have moved immediately. And the first process would have been to deal with it as a criminal act. Find out those who are culpable. Bring them to justice. But so far there has been no FIR. The government at the central level is handicapped because an FIR cannot be registered in view of a judgment of the Supreme Court rendered in early 90s. You must read that judgment. I am all for independence of judiciary. I am a strong voter of protecting judges. Judges deal with very difficult situations. They decide cases against the executive. They deal in certain areas with legislature matters. We must protect our judges from frivolous litigation. So I'm not against the mechanism evolved. But when something like this happens, some things are worrisome. The incident took place, boys and girls, on night intervening 14th and 15th March. We did not come to know about it. It was only on 21st March this year, after about 7 days, we came to know about this ghastly crime. Now question arises, did anyone know about it earlier? Yes, it was a fire incident. The fighting mechanism was there. Those involved with the system knew about it. Why it was not shared? I am a concerned man. Whether this is an incident in isolation or there are other similar incidents, that is something which we have to deal with. I therefore strongly feel, and I have said it on multiple occasions, proceeding with the constitutional mechanism of dealing with the judge in terms of constitutional provision is one way out. But that is not a solution, because we claim to be a democracy, which we are. The world looks us as a mature democracy, where there has to be rule of law, equality before law, which means every crime must be investigated. If the money is so huge in volume, we have to find out, is it tainted money? What is the source of this money? How was it stacked in the residence, official residence of a judge? It belonged to whom? several penal provisions are violated in the process. I do hope an FIR will be registered. We must go to the root of the matter, because for the democracy it matters that our judiciary, in whom the faith is unshakable, its very foundations have been shaken. The citadel is tottering because of this incident, and we must therefore examine the issue from that perspective, which I am sure you will surely be engaged into examining this aspect. There are several other issues which you need to examine, and one is always think ahead of your times. There is a constitutional provision, if you can understand, that certain constitutional authorities are not permitted to hold assignment after their office. Like a public service commission member cannot take any assignment under the government. CAG can't take that assignment. Chief election commissioner and election commissioners can't take that assignment, because they must be free, not to be subjected to allurements and temptations. This was not for judges. Why? Because judges were expected to be totally away from it. And now we have post-retirement posts for judges. Am I right? And not all can be accommodated, only some can be accommodated. So when you can't accommodate all, you accommodate some. There is pick and choose. When there is pick and choose, there is patronage. It is seriously impairing our judiciary. I want you boys and girls, I have given you certain leads, to get into a small group on a weekly basis and discuss these issues. I should never be misunderstood as in any way saying something else which does not strengthen judiciary. I have given the best part of my life in judiciary. I take bar as a part of judiciary. I have enjoyed every moment of it. And lastly, before I conclude, boys and girls, your opportunity basket is enlarging by the day. Look around. As law graduates, you will have opportunities to engage in policy making, policy formations, how to get involved with blue economy, space economy, cyber security. All those issues are there. So in a country like ours, which is developing at a very fast pace, your future is assured. The ecosystem in the country is one full of hope and possibility, a situation which none of us had when we were students. Okay? So my offer is accepted. So the contract is complete. Am I right? Contract is complete. I'll seek the honorable members of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, and the administration of NUALS, with the indulgent support of the two honorable ministers, to fructify it at the earliest. Thank you so much for your time and patience.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.